13 seconds. That was all it took for a quiet tension between two Hollywood giants to explode into a confrontation that neither man would ever forget. The ballroom of the Beverly Hills Hotel glowed under golden chandeliers, filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and the low hum of powerful conversations. It was the summer of 1966, and the biggest names in film had gathered for a charity gala. Producers moved from table to table like kings surveying their empires. Actresses sparkled in elegant gowns, and rising stars tried their best to look like they belonged among legends. Near the bar stood a tall man in a rented tuxedo, holding a glass of whiskey and watching the room more than participating in it. He felt like an outsider, famous yet still not fully accepted by the Hollywood elite. He had built his reputation across the ocean in European westerns that critics couldn't quite categorize. Some saw a genius in his silence and stillness. Others dismissed him as a lucky television actor riding a temporary wave. He didn't talk much, and maybe that was why people underestimated him. That night, he was trying to keep a low profile, nodding politely to familiar faces, smiling just enough to appear comfortable. But Hollywood had a way of forcing people into the spotlight whether they wanted it or not. His agent approached with a wide grin and a powerful figure at his side. The older man carried himself with absolute confidence, the kind that came from decades of box office success and industry respect. He had played warriors, heroes, and complicated men, and audiences loved him for his intensity. The introduction was polite, the handshake firm, but beneath the smiles was a quiet tension. The older actor began asking questions that sounded casual, yet carried sharp edges. He commented on the younger man's fame overseas, hinting that European popularity was somehow less legitimate than American success. The words were delivered with charm, but the meaning was clear: "You're not one of us yet." The younger actor answered calmly, refusing to rise to the bait. He spoke about storytelling, about different styles of filmmaking, about audiences around the world. But the older star continued, comparing his own traditional Western roles to the newer, darker style that was gaining attention. He questioned whether standing quietly on screen could truly be called acting. Laughter from nearby guests felt forced and uneasy. People could sense the tension growing like a storm cloud over the room. Soon a small crowd gathered, pretending to mingle while secretly listening. The older actor's voice grew louder, fueled by alcohol and ego. He made jokes about ponchos and silent stares, suggesting that anyone could look tough with the right costume. The younger man remained composed, choosing his words carefully, but inside he felt every insult. Finally, the older star crossed a line, declaring that there was a difference between a trained actor and a personality pretending to be one. The room fell silent. Even the music seemed to fade into the background. A respected director stepped in, attempting to calm the situation, but the older man was not finished. With dramatic flair, he proposed a challenge, a shooting contest at a private range the following day. If a younger actor was truly the tough gunslinger he portrayed on screen, then he should prove it. The suggestion was half joke, half humiliation, designed to force a reaction. To everyone's surprise, the younger man accepted without hesitation. The challenge hung in the air, like a promise neither could escape. That night, sleep did not come easily. Alone in his room, the younger actor replayed the conversation again and again. The insults had struck deeper than he cared to admit because they touched his own insecurities. He wondered if critics were right about him, if his minimal acting style was misunderstood or simply lacking. Yet he also remembered the long hours of study, the deliberate choices he made to express emotion through stillness rather than words. He realized the challenge was not really about shooting. It was about identity, pride, and belonging in an industry that constantly measured worth. The next day, the private shooting range sat quietly in the hills above Malibu, far from the glamour of Hollywood parties. Dust floated in the warm air, and the silence felt heavier than any applause. The older actor arrived with witnesses, determined to prove a point. The competition began with rifle precision. The older man performed well, confident and steady, earning respectful scores. But when a younger actor stepped forward, his calm focus turned into near perfection. Every shot landed exactly where it needed to be, surprising everyone present. The second challenge tested speed and accuracy with handguns. The older actor fired quickly but missed several targets. When a younger man's turn came, his movements were controlled and efficient. One shot after another hit its mark, each impact echoing across the range. The final test involved moving targets, requiring patience and timing. Again, the younger actor demonstrated quiet skill, while the older man struggled to maintain his composure. When the scores were totaled, the outcome was undeniable. Humiliation filled the space where confidence had stood only hours earlier. The older actor lashed out, accusing the younger man of setting him up and practicing unfairly. Anger replaced charm, and bitterness spilled into every word. The younger actor tried to remain respectful, explaining that skills could be learned through discipline and dedication. But the deeper conflict finally surfaced. They argued about acting philosophy, about authenticity versus transformation, about generational change in Hollywood. One represented the established order. The other symbolized a new style that audiences were beginning to embrace. In a moment of raw honesty, the younger man spoke about fear and change. He suggested that the industry was evolving and that insecurity often led people to attack others rather than adapt. The words struck hard, exposing truths the older actor did not want to face. The confrontation ended not with victory celebrations, but with quiet reflection. The younger actor left the range feeling unsettled, aware that success could vanish as quickly as it appeared. Days later, whispers of the event spread through Hollywood like wildfire. Gossip columns hinted at a legendary star humbled by a rising newcomer. Producers and journalists flooded the younger actor with offers and interview requests, eager to turn the story into publicity. He refused them all, choosing dignity over attention. He understood that fame was temporary and that humiliating another person for profit would only damage his own character. Meanwhile, the older actor retreated from public view, wrestling with embarrassment and self-doubt. Friends worried about him, recognizing that beneath his anger was genuine fear of fading relevance. Eventually, a close confidant encouraged him to confront his mistakes and seek reconciliation. Weeks later, the two men met again in a quiet restaurant far from cameras and gossip. The apology was sincere. The older actor admitted jealousy, insecurity, and regret for his behavior. He acknowledged that the industry's changes had frightened him, and that he had chosen the wrong way to express those fears. The younger actor listened carefully, understanding that pride and vulnerability often live side by side in creative people. They spoke not as rivals, but as artists trying to survive an unforgiving business. The tension softened into mutual respect. As they left the restaurant, both men carried lessons that would shape their futures. One learned that humility could coexist with strength, and that silence was sometimes the most powerful response. The other realized that adaptation was necessary for growth, and that even legends must evolve. Hollywood would continue to change, stars would rise and fall, and audiences would demand new stories. But for a brief moment, two generations faced each other honestly and chose understanding over endless conflict. Years later, the younger actor would look back on that confrontation not as a victory, but as a reminder of how fragile success could be. He remembered the ballroom lights, the sharp words, the echo of gunshots in the hills, and the quiet apology over lunch. Fame, he realized, was never the true measure of a person. Character was revealed in how one treated others when pride was wounded and egos clashed. And in an industry built on illusion, the rarest achievement was not winning an argument or a competition, but learning to walk away with dignity intact.